Hello and welcome to Defense Diaries. I am your host, Bob Mata, and I am not joined by my beautiful and brilliant wife, Allie. She's got real work to do this week, so she might pop in here and there, but sadly, she won't be here with us the whole way. But we'll survive. We will plunge through. I'm going to try to get Jay in here, see if he'll pop in a bit. Might be able to get Josh Ritter in, see if he wants to pop in. So I'll try to get some special guests to hang with us. Hello, everyone. I hope that you guys had a wonderful weekend, relaxing. I hope that you had just a wonderful time with your family, your friends, what have you. But most of all, I hope that you're all healthy and happy. And I've got an eye. They've got the thing up. They've got the thing up. The crest. I think that's what you can know. The seal of the great state of Nevada. So I'll pull that up just so you guys know that keeping an eye on it. I'm keeping an eye on it. You hear some rustling back there. Testing microphones. Just good. We want that. We want that. I did have a good weekend, Diz. Did you? I did. I had a very, very nice weekend. Got to see the baby yesterday, which is always amazing. She's so adorable. Got to spend a quality like four hours with the little love bug. It was just the happiest baby you could ever want. So it was definitely some quality fun pod time. And what can I say? That little baby loves me. She just, I just make her smile and smile and smile. Let's see, Couch. I have. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. But yeah, I have seen it. I was a huge Hoffman fan. Rest in peace. Died way too young. He had so many great roles. I think where I really fell in love with him was probably his like bit role in The Big Lebowski. And he had been, I was always a fan of his going back to Son of a Woman, where he just played one of the douchey friends that was at that private school that Chris O'Donnell was attending, who just had money, and his parents had money, so he was not a good guy. And then obviously that Lebowski, just kind of the bit things that he did in his role, just like the way he would hold his hands, and he was just a great actor. So yeah, I've seen it. It's been a long time, Couch. It definitely has. So some housekeeping. While you guys were patiently waiting, I actually just set up the live for tomorrow night, which I'm really excited about. And I hope that you guys will spread the word. I've got Bill, as you guys know. I always have Dorsch on Tuesdays. We've had some trouble getting him onto StreamYard the past couple times. I think 2 times ago it was audio only. Last time we just couldn't figure it out. He's in Europe. It's not like I can, and I've tried the thing where I'm doing, hey man, FaceTime me or Skype me or whatever, so that I could try to see what's going on. And it's tough. It's tough. Like Bill's like next level bad at tech. It's like I'm bad. Bill is next level bad, but he owns it, much like I do. So I respect it. And but tomorrow night we're shifting from Gacy, and I know that everybody wants to continue to get the details on that, but we've got 2 things going on with Bill, and Bill really kind of the bigger story about Bill Dorsch is really that he was the whistleblower for the Chicago homicide detective back in the 90s, early 2000s, that was framing dozens and dozens and dozens of people for murders that they did not commit. And it's shocking. Like the fact that it's not like one of the more well-known tales of corruption and just law enforcement gone bad blows my mind, because it's a story that's old. I mean, we're talking the 90s. It's like, so Margaret Byrne, who we're having as a guest tomorrow night, is a documentary filmmaker, brilliant, brilliant woman. She actually she's actually a professor at Columbia, who teaches young filmmakers how to make documentaries. And I am super excited to have her on. She has been digging into the Guevara case for a long, long time. Um, and Bill, of course, is featured in her documentary, which is called Fighting Time. It's not out yet. It's still in production. And the amount of interviews that she's done are going to blow your mind. And it's from all sides. It's like an expose on Guevara, but it's also, focuses on Bill and what he did to right the wrongs that had been going on for over a decade with Guevara and his crew of henchmen. Because he can't really get into that kind of corruption without having a little bit of help. So I mean, Guevara was certainly the one that was spearheading it, but he had guys that worked with him and under him that certainly had to have been a party to it, because it's too mind blowing, and it's like, I read an article that was in BuzzFeed last week during our live that was very lengthy. It was so lengthy that I was an hour plus reading it, and at some point I just cut it because it was incredibly thorough, and that was just focusing on one of Guevara's cases, so it wasn't even like a broad overview. So, but just the lives that were destroyed, by his actions, and it's like this position that we trust these people that we give these guns and badges to, who are sworn to serve and protect us, and when that goes horribly wrong, or that power is placed in the wrong hands, I'm not sure that there's anything more terrifying than that, to be honest with you. I mean, you're talking about the ability to be able to just destroy somebody's life in the blink of an eye, and there's almost nothing that you can do about it from the other side. If you're the defendant, if they're tinkering with evidence, if they're changing reports, if they're getting their eyewitnesses, and I use finger quotes to term them eyewitnesses, to make bogus identifications. I mean, how do you disprove a negative? Like, it's really, really hard, which is what makes Bill Dorsch one of my favorite people ever. He gave up his career. He put his truly, I'm not exaggerating. He put his life at risk, because when you're talking about corruption at that level, with the type of money that's currently being paid out by the city of Chicago to these wrongfully convicted men, and there was one woman as well. It's huge money. It's unearthing a just pervasive corruption that was, and still is, prevalent in the Chicago Police Department in general. And the fact that they would turn, and I'm talking about higher ups that were turning their blind eye to what was going on after Dorsch came forward, is equally scary. It's equally scary. It's like, how I'm always talking about defense attorneys, we're fighting the government. Well, tomorrow night's going to be another example of why we exist. And I hope that you guys will come and join us. It should be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. So it's up, it's out there. Make sure that you hit your notifications. If you haven't, do us a favor, make sure you like this video, get us out to the world. If you haven't already, we'd appreciate it if you subscribed. Trying to build the channel, and always sharing helps spread the word, let people know that we exist. We think that we give some pretty good content over here. And on top of all that, we just have the best community out there right here every day, in and out. Jay and I, Steve and Dan and I, Joe Jackalone and I, and Joe's okay. If anybody's wondering, I've checked in on him. I think he just needed a little breather. And I think that people who kind of get into this creating business in terms of YouTube and or podcasts and or both, which is my case, realize that it's an overwhelming amount of work, and you've got a lot of things coming at you, and it's a lot. So Joe's good. I'm sure that Joe will be back in action very soon. But he's alive and well, and just taking a little bit of a breather, I think, so that he can regather. Because it takes a lot out of you. It really does, doing this. Because it's like one thing to sit here live. It's another thing altogether to be, trying to think of content, trying to create when you're off. You guys know how hard Jay works getting his videos done. And I think we all do important work. I think we all try to shed light on things that need light shed on them. So, just keep supporting Joe. Obviously, keep supporting Jay and Dan and Steve over at PB and all of our friends, really. We love Lauren Conlon. She's in the chat all the time. I'm supposed to be doing something with her, hopefully soon. So I'm a little bit nervous. And just so you guys know, I got the eye on it, as you can see, and we are live. So as soon as this thing goes, at the end of this week, I'm concerned if this thing goes into Friday, because I am actually traveling down to Marion, Illinois, on a wrongful conviction case that I'm working on with Lauren Pachenko, who I told you guys last week. She's got a lot of amazing podcasts out there. Murder in Illinois, which she took a lot of shit for, which is about the Christopher Vaughn case, which was a family annihilator case, which anytime that you come in on one of those cases from the side of potentially saying, well, maybe this guy's innocent, you're going to take heat, and it's just like that. It's like that. People don't seem to understand that there's lots of ways to advocate in the criminal justice system. And, I'm knee deep in this case that we're getting into, and we're going to do a prison. What's up? Who? Oh, sorry. So yeah, we're going to do a prison visit with Julia, who is currently convicted. Was just convicted. It's a horrible case. It really is. But Lauren and I and Jason Flom and a lot of people in the Innocence Project, and as well as just the wrongful conviction community, think that they got the wrong one on this one, and a lot of indications of what appeared to me to be a railroad job down in a very rural area of Illinois. So it's going to be exciting. But in that podcast, which is called Murder on Songbird Road, is actually dropping in November. We don't have an exact date. At least it's scheduled to be dropping then. So that's our hope, to get that done. But we're doing the work, and I love working with Lauren. She's brilliant, and we're doing the real stuff on that one. Some more boots on the ground stuff. So make sure you keep an eye out. And I'll be promoting that as it gets closer to coming to fruition. But it should be cool. Yeah, the Christopher Vaughn thing, that was kind of, when I listened to the Murder in Illinois which I was obviously familiar with the case. It was going on at the exact same time in the exact same county as Drew Peterson. So we have Drew Peterson, who was the wife killing cop, Bolingbrook cop, who was ultimately convicted and is serving life sentence in prison right now for the murder of his second wife, Kathleen Savio. His last wife, Stacy Peterson, had gone missing and still to this day has not been located. But what they did is after she went missing, they exhumed Kathleen's body, as her death had originally been ruled an accidental death in the bathtub. And they came back, looked at everything again, and they changed their minds and ruled that it was a homicide. He went to trial. He lost. So the Vaughn case was going on at the same time. And if you guys are not aware, Christopher Vaughn, just a horrific, like unimaginable story. Him and his wife had gotten up bright and early one morning, packed their 3 kids in their car, leaving Oswego, which is a suburb of Illinois, suburb of Chicago, rather. That's probably about 15 minutes away from me. And they were heading down for a little family trip to St. Louis to go to a water park. Sometime during that trip, while still in Illinois, cars pulled over. 3 kids are shot. Christopher Vaughn's wife is shot, and Christopher is shot twice. Ultimately, they came to the conclusion, law enforcement, that he did it. And if you're looking at it objectively, he did not help himself. He had said some just weird things that I like when I went to go visit Vaughn in prison. Those are the things that I was asking. So, but then I heard about this drug called Topamax, which his wife had been taking for about 6 months. And at that time, I think that the black box warning was not out, that it had a tendency to make people have suicidal ideation, which if you do any kind of research into that, you will know that suicidal ideation is essentially puts your mindset in the same place as homicidal ideation. So it's a really interesting case. And frankly, and you guys see it, we're live, just so you know, we're not missing anything on Tellus. Like her personality changed, and it was changing, like, to where she wasn't even the same person. And but when you look at how they process that crime scene and the kind of the theory that they came up with, where it had to, for them, in order for them to convict Christopher Vaughn, requires a deeper look. It requires a deeper look. And Lauren did that in her Illinois and Murder in Illinois series. And like, that's what piqued my interest. And then she reached out to me and she said, that she was a fan of my work, not so much on the YouTube, because at that point I didn't even have YouTube, but because of my podcast. If you don't know, I'm a very deep diver, very, very deep, very deep. I don't know if anybody is as deep as I am, except for my buddy, who happens to be one of my close friends, Josh Hallmark, with True Crime Bullshit, which, by the way, again, in October 18th, I think, through the 20th, the Berkshires Podcast Festival is going on. Allie and I will be there. Generation Y will be there. Obviously, it's Josh's festival. True Crime Bullshit will be there. Crime Lines with Charlie Worrell will be there. He put together like just a powerhouse of just really, really, excuse me, good, thorough, great podcast. Like a lot of people that I'm very close with in the industry, who I really, really respect the work that they do. So, like, if you're in the area, make sure that you grab tickets. I think they're down to like, and it's going to be intimate. It's going to be intimate, but it's going to be an amazing couple of days where you're really going to be able to hang out with some phenomenal people. And if you're, you know, if you're a fan of podcasts or you're a fan of particular podcasts, and I'll be promoting it. So, I mean, I think my friends from Love and Murder, who I begged Josh to invite them, which he did, are going to be there as well, and that's Jesse and Andy. Uh, they're just wonderful women, and Allie and I will be doing the first panel with the ladies from Love Murder, so we're really excited about that. And it's just filled with a ton of great panels. You're going to get a lot of quality time with the creators. So, and you just can't beat the atmosphere, and it's going to be peak color time in the Berkshires. So it's kind of like the perfect storm of all things awesome. So if you're up in that area or you're looking for a nice weekend getaway, think about joining us up there. We think it's going to be a great time, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. So I hope to see you all there. So what's up with you, beautiful humans? Did everybody have a good weekend? Everybody good? I mean, I like, as far as the Telus case goes, I have to imagine that we're very, very close to getting to the end of state's case in chief. Like I was surprised. Like, we're at the end of the story. They're kind of running through it chronologically, and now the witness prior to the last guy that was on the stand is really getting to the point where Telus is arrested. So it's still on my foot, Sheila. Thank you for asking. The toenail is not, but the toe is still on my foot, so that's good. Yeah, that was miserable. That was miserable Friday. I was running up, full disclosure, I was running up to get Allie a charger because when Allie was down getting, working on that case in Florida, that federal case, she just did amazing, unbelievable work. Like, it still just blows my mind, like, for the amount of weight that our client got caught with coming into the country on a boat. She got him 5 years is crazy to me. But apparently she left her Mac charger somewhere. So we've been sharing the Mac charger, just super annoying, because she's down in the basement. I'm upstairs. And, so she's like, oh, I'm dying. So, like, I need my charger. So I ran back up, and Gloria was here, who comes every Friday. And she had one of my dumbbells out by the floor. I didn't see it. I was kind of like walking around this banner thing, and I just nailed the little toe. I knew immediately the toenail was dead. Like, it was gone. And I'm not good with the sight of blood. Like, I am surprisingly, to be a criminal defense attorney, like, that the sight of blood makes me feel very oogie. Like, I just I'm not good at handling it. I could never have been a doctor. Let me put it that way. Yeah, Taryn, big news about Dee's body being found. Yeah, the body, like, I know that is weird. And they found her in this large tank on the property. And apparently the body's in very good condition because there was no oxygen getting in there. And obviously the husband is currently incarcerated, but if you ask any state's attorney, they're always going to tell you that their preference is not to have a no body case, because there's always that inkling that the person's out there alive and well, and they've just dipped out, so that any prosecutor will tell you that, while we never want somebody to be deceased, in terms of trying to convict somebody of killing somebody, it's certainly a much easier task for the prosecution if you have a body. Oh, is that what you're hearing? Dizzy saying, I think that he's going for a plea deal and told them where to find Dee's body. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I know they secured 2 more search warrants, so they must have had some decent intel because it's like you just can't, like, you have to reapply for search warrants. Like once a search warrant is expired, you can't just keep going back on the property. So every time they want to get back, there's got to be some new information in order for them to. So that would make sense to me, Diz. That's something that happened. So yeah, that's interesting. And like over the weekend, I fully watched the Netflix Scott Peterson thing. I think when I was like on Friday, Allie and I had just watched like the first episode, and like by the end of it, like Allie's like, yeah. He's like, because I think going into it, Allie was like, yeah, I think he might be innocent. By the end of that, she's like, yeah, no, he's guilty. So, and apparently Peacock's got one coming out where he interviews, and I guess this guy, like, I don't know if it's a tell all, but I guess he admits that he was a big giant asshole during that time frame. Obviously he's having the affair. Man, it's like that thing with coincidences, that it's tough to overlook some of the powerful circumstantial evidence. Now, all that being said, they're currently testing a piece of duct tape and like this LA Innocence Project, which, just to be clear, is not the Innocence Project. There's no. All right, hold on, y'all. I'm on a live. Is it something that I need to deal with? All right. Yeah, that did not require an immediate interruption. It was like, oh my goodness. Jennifer Adams, one of our ride or dies here, family member, sent me a $50 Venmo saying, thank you for the Pequod's pizza recommendation. It was fantastic. Our 6-year-old got a Pequod's t-shirt because I didn't get to here. I got to open it. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you guys went. It's scrumptious. Like, it's just absolutely scrumptious. I love Pequod's. So let me see. I want to be able to read that entire thing. Thank you so much for that, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. He got a t-shirt because he loved it so much. LOL. So thank you so much. So glad you guys enjoy it. I really try to never give bad recommendations, whether it's movies, music, food. I try to give very solid recommendations. So that thrills me. And I hope you guys had a nice time in Chicago. You actually got some beautiful weather this weekend. So that was nice. That was nice. Yeah, I'll tell you, Judge on Tellus, not timely. We have like the diametric opposite of when Jay and I were streaming Little Woody with the new judge who took over for Granville. She was like clockwork coming in. I mean, she was supposed to start at 15 minutes ago, 16 minutes now. Haven't quite gotten there yet. But all right, so let's jump back to Tellus a little bit. I think that with Tellus, now it was interesting. It was interesting. I saw, yeah, like everybody watched that Peterson thing. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like if they come back and this piece of duct tape, which apparently was, I don't even know where it was located, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was in this van. I think they found it maybe in the van, or I don't know. Somebody tell me in the chat, because they didn't get into that at all in this documentary, the Netflix one. So, and I haven't been following it very closely with the Innocence, the LA Innocence Project, and their move to get this thing open. Dizzy, thank you. Jeff Garman's family and the DA just walked into the courtroom, so we should be getting close. I'll kick some volume. I think we got the volume ready to go. Yeah. So yeah, you think it was in the van, Meg? I think so too. Yeah, Meg, they're not going to be, at least right now, they're not testing the blood that was found on the mattress in the van. The only thing that the court allowed to be tested at this juncture is the duct tape. So obviously, if they find, and I think this is like a burnt out van, right, that was found not too far away from the Peterson's home, I think. But like I guess like if they find Stacy's like hair and or DNA, if there's a hair on that, or Lacey, I'm sorry, had Peterson on my mind. If they find Lacey's like hair or DNA on there, what does that mean? I mean, isn't it possible that Scott drove that van? I don't know that it's. I mean, it certainly puts into question at least his story. You know what I'm saying? It's like you've got like I don't know, the concept with him just buying that boat and then going out there and then Lacey and the poor little 8-month old or 8-month old, but not even born yet, Connor, being found in the very same bay that he's boating that morning it's a lot to get over. It's just a lot to get over. It really, it's like, and I'm always willing to, because of the nature of what I've done for a long time. Like I realize more than most that, the state comes with theories. They don't know. I say that all the time, and I say it because it's true. They don't know. They weren't there, just like defense attorneys weren't there, just like the cops weren't there, and if you have a circumstantial case, I'm certainly willing to look at all sides of it. And I'm certainly willing to relook at cases where, if somebody's persisting in their innocence for 2 decades, but I mean, even though Gacy gave 5 confessions, like before he's getting executed, he's claiming he's innocent. So it's difficult, but wrongful conviction work is very, very important, and it's near and dear to my heart. So I'm certainly willing to listen. Whether or not I'm willing to buy it is a completely different thing. So we'll see. It's interesting though. It's a case that'll never go away. Like many of them don't go away, but it's an interesting one. I'm kind of looking forward because, to be honest, I forgot just how brutal when he went on with, I can't remember if it was Diane Sawyer, whoever he did that national interview with, that was just so brutal. Oh my God, like just the weird eye things he's doing. I mean, the guy just looks like just flat out lying on shit that he knew had to become. It was like all of that was coming to pass. Like all the things that he's lying about were just going to be like outed, like sooner rather than later. Like saying that he, like going on national TV and saying that he told the cops the night of, that his that Lacey went missing, that he was having an affair, which is total bullshit. Did not. Oh no, yeah, no, C-Dub. I've up and listened to Syed stuff with Undisclosed with Susan Simpson. I'm friends with both Jacinda and Susan. I love their work. So yeah, no, I've definitely listened to it. I was in their most recent season. I did a one of their bonus episodes on the case that they're working on now. I'm talking about Jacinda, and which for their current podcast is called Proof, which I highly recommend. Like they've exonerated people based on the work in their podcast. They're like true blue. They're something else. Both of them. Susan's brilliant. Jacinda's brilliant. They're awesome. So yeah, let's see. So we're still hanging tight. Still nothing going here. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. And let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Yeah, she's unbelievable, Elizabeth. She really is. She's a true advocate for the wrongly convicted. You know, it's like I was trying to tell people, I'm like, look, oh, you did. Oh, good. Yeah, like that case that they're working that they did in the last season is another one that's just like it reminds me a lot of the case that Lauren and I are working on down in Marion. And if you guys want to Google it, the woman's name is Julia Beverly, and that's with no R. It's not Beverly, it's Beverly, Bevely. Terrible case. Her 11-year-old stepdaughter of like 7 years was brutally killed one morning. And it was, and it's one of those situations where, this is like right kind of in the height of the pandemic, but that like we were out of lockdown, but still in the pandemic. And it just happened. Like there's so many things that don't add up, but you've got that situation where it's a family member. They always look at the family members first, always. And then, so she's the last person to see young Jade alive, and she's the one who calls it in. So you're on the radar big time when that's you. That's just it's one of those things where like that's right where law enforcement's mind goes, and I don't blame them. I mean, that's where my mind would go too, but it can't be to the exclusion of everything else. I mean, that's certainly, and again, much like Vaughn, Julie didn't help herself, with some of the, like she told a couple of lies, which again, I mean, it's hard to know what you do in that position. It just is. It's like, really is. It's like people are like, if they're being honest with themselves, and like no one who's been in that position can really guess what they would do in that position. But, like, especially if like anybody that leaves is the last person to see somebody alive, and then they come back to their home, like, and there's a short gap of time from the time that the person left to the time that they return, and somebody's dead. It's like and if you didn't do it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, they're 100% going to think that I did this. Like, that's just, unless you're a moron, like, you're going to think that immediately. So then your mind, you're freaking out. You're like shocked and horrified about what you've just discussed. Like, it's a crazy case. It really is. And Zellner is actually taking on the appeal, which typically Zellner, but she's taking on the direct appeal, so which is different than a post-conviction relief act thing. Like, those petitions are done after the fact. That's where you can bring in newly discovered evidence and things of that nature. So like getting Zellner on board, like early on, like with direct appeal is kind of a big deal. So yeah. So keep your eyes out for that thing. Maybe look that case up. Like when you start reading all the newspaper articles, which you'll realize right away are all written from the she's guilty perspective, you'll see. But when you start digging into that case, it's interesting. So yeah, she's definitely choosy about her cases, Spitfire. It's like when we got Jason Flom on board with the case in his Lava for Good, which they just do tons of amazing work, post-conviction relief stuff and wrongful convictions. Yeah, I do. I do. I have a lot of tabs open always on my thing. So I thought I was just hanging around before the stream started. I was getting the stream ready for Margaret Byrne and Bill tomorrow night. And then before that, I was hanging around in Seeking Justice, which is Dizzy and Tracy's amazing Discord channel. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna dig in, see what they got on Torres, or Tellus. I'm sorry. And like I found it interesting. Dizzy has the Nevada jury instructions, pattern jury instructions for murder over there, and they're pretty interesting. I thought I'd read through those, see what the state has to prove here. So their first instruction for under the murder, and again, this is what the jury will be given, these instructions. So murder is the unlawful killing of a human being. And remember, anytime the state is trying to prove a statute, they have to prove each and every element of that statute. And when you're looking at a statute, it doesn't necessarily break it down in terms of saying, okay, like one parenthetical, this is the first element. Two, it's typically in the form of a sentence, and you have to be able to kind of dissect it and figure out what the elements are of the crime. So murder is the unlawful killing of a human being. So you got unlawful killings, one element, human being, second element. That's what I'm always telling you guys. When you get the proof of life witnesses on there, that's who they are. That's why they're testifying to fulfill that element, to prove that element of the crime, that you're indeed talking about somebody that was alive and well in the world. So with malice aforethought, third element, with either express or implied, the unlawful killing may be effected by any of the various means by which death may be occasioned. So that's the overall definition of murder. In Nevada, there's degrees of murder. Murder is divided into 2 degrees. Murder of the first degree is the murder in which, 1, willful, deliberate, and premeditated, which is willful, deliberate, and premeditated, or 2, committed in the perpetration or attempted perpetration of the felony crime of a charged felony. Like many times you'll see kidnapping or armed robbery, or, it's during the commission of another felony that the murder occurs. So murder of the second degree is all other kinds of murder. Okay, so malice aforethought is defined as such. Malice aforethought, as used in the definition of murder, means the intentional doing of a wrongful act without legal cause or excuse, or what the law considers adequate provocation. The condition of mind described as malice aforethought may arise not alone from anger, hatred, revenge, or from particular ill will, spite, or grudge toward the person killed, but may also result from any unjustifiable or unlawful motive or purpose to injure another, which proceeds from a heart fatally bent on mischief. All right, we'll get back to this. Check in. Interesting. All right, we're going to get rolling here. What did Mia Beto do to her foot?
Now in session, Your Honorable Michelle Leonard presiding.
Good morning.
In order to be seated, please.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the jury panel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may call your next witness.
state calls Taylor Oliver.
Oh, Mia Beto. Nothing worse than injuring your toes. I'm so sorry. I hope you didn't break it. Can't do much with a broken toe. Yikes. Sounds awful. Oh, there's good old Matt Johnson there in the pink, gray, pink shirt, gray suit. There's Casper.
Please watch your step. And if you remain standing, raise your right hand and face forward.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. You may be seated.
It's a bingo right there.
Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Taylor Tolliver, Taylortolliver.
May I proceed? Good morning, Ms. Tolliver. How
Good
are
morning.
you employed?
I'm a detective with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
How long
Wow.
have you worked for Metro?
It'll be 10 years next month.
Okay. How were you assigned back in 2022?
Talk about a hot cop
I'm
alert.
criminal intelligence detective,
And
Wow.
what were your job duties back in 2022, say September?
an undercover surveillance detective.
And as an undercover surveillance detective back then, I think we all have a general idea of what that might look like, but can you tell the members of the jury what you did day to day as that type of detective?
Essentially, we would just utilize different equipment and tactics to essentially surveil people, follow them around, observe their activities. Sometimes they would be individuals, sometimes they would be businesses, dependent on what the investigators requested.
And the investigators, when they made a request of surveillance, do they explain their whole case to you, or do they just say, look, I need surveillance on this particular person on this date, or how does that work?
They typically give us objectives and then enough context from their investigation for those objectives, but not in detail their entirety of their cases.
Okay, so just sort of a framework so you can accomplish the objective on the surveillance?
Correct.
Okay. During September of 2022, did you conduct surveillance on behalf of, or at the request of, I should say, Detective Derek Jaffe?
Yes.
And was one of the days that you conducted surveillance September the 1st of 2022?
Yes.
Do you remember if that location was like a neighborhood on a street called Spanish Steps?
Yes.
Who was the target? Who were you watching on that day?
Robert Tellis.
And do you see Mr. Tellis in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you point to him and describe what he's wearing today, please?
A black suit with a multicolored tie.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant? When you were conducting your surveillance on September the 1st, were you in a vehicle or were you on foot, or what kind of?
Predominantly in a vehicle.
Okay, and as part of the surveillance, do you keep a log of activities that you observed on September the 1st?
Yes.
And then based on that log, is that later transferred to the detective?
Yes.
In addition to keeping a written log, do you also sometimes take photographs?
I do.
And on that day, did you take some photographs?
Yes.
And that would be him and at his residence doing whatever?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to the photographs, are those given to the requesting detective as well?
They are.
And then all of that is sort of kept in a Metro file?
I'm not really sure what he would do with it. They're forwarded to the case agent.
After you give it to the case agent, you're kind of done?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Thank you. Having shown defense counsel what's been marked as states 348 through 350, just ask you to look through these photographs and let me know when you're done, please.
Back to using the split screen.
Having looked at those photographs, do they fairly and accurately depict what you saw on September the 1st?
They do.
State moves to admit 348 through 350.
No objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm gonna, may I publish? I'm gonna put on the overhead what's been admitted as states 348. Let me just. Can you see that on your screen up there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What are we looking at in that photograph?
The vehicle of Robert Tellez, or the vehicle he operated that day?
Okay, and is it parked basically in front of his house on Spanish Steps?
Yes.
This is states 349. And what are we looking at in that photo?
That is Mr. Tellez exiting the vehicle.
And last one is states 350. Another shot of Mr. Tellez.
It appears to be immediately after him exiting the vehicle, walking towards the residence.
Thank you very much. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Tolliver, so I understand your testimony correctly. Mr. Tellez was under surveillance by yourself at the request of Detective Jappy on September 1st, 2022.
By myself and my squad, yes.
Photographed him, watched him, correct?
Yes.
You'll agree with me that there were no actions on his part that would raise any suspicions in your mind concerning crimes that may or may not be occurring.
I don't deem what is suspicious. I make the observations and forward them to the detective they requested it.
Did he leave the residence multiple times, a single time? Please explain to us a little more in detail what you observed on the events of September 1st, 2022.
Specifically the first?
Correct.
I believe on that day he left to Target, if I'm correct. And then I believe he also went to pick up a juvenile from a bus stop.
Okay, a child. The child that he picked up, he returned home to his residence.
Correct.
Fair to say?
Yes.
Were you involved in the surveillance of Mr. Tellez on September 6th?
Yes.
And if you could explain to us what it was that you saw occur on September 6th? Have you reviewed your report in preparation for your testimony today?
I have, but we did a couple surveillances on Mr. Tellez. Oh, I do remember. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that was the day I don't believe he initially left the house. The day he exited his residence and began cleaning the exterior of his vehicles.
Okay, and just so we're clear, you surveilled him washing 3 vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall what 3 vehicles those were?
There was the vehicle that was just depicted, I believe, a BMW, a Tesla, and then a Yukon.
Okay. You surveilled him washing the exterior of the 3 vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And this washing of the 3 vehicles took about 2.5 hours, correct?
I believe so, yes.
At no time did you see him enter and wash any of the 3 vehicles, correct?
That's incorrect. I did see him enter a vehicle.
But to wash, you saw him, when you saw him enter the vehicle, it was to move the vehicle, correct?
No, I saw him enter a vehicle that he did not move.
Okay, and what vehicle was that?
The Yukon.
And what specifically did you see him do inside the
I
vehicle?
can't say what he did within the vehicle. My vantage point didn't allow me to see that.
He was in the vehicle briefly.
Correct.
You saw him exit the residence prior to washing the 3 vehicles with cleaning agents, correct?
Yes.
And he used those cleaning agents to wash the BMW, correct?
Yes.
The Tesla
Yes.
and the Yukon, the Denali, correct?
Yes.
But he washed the exteriors only, correct?
As far as what my vantage point gave me, I saw him wash the exteriors of the 3 vehicles you just mentioned. Yes.
Okay, and nothing else, just the exteriors is the point I'm getting at.
Correct. So the only thing I was able to see was the exteriors. Yes.
Okay. You made note on your surveillance log of September 6th that you saw cameras on the exterior of Mr. Tellez's residence on September 6th, correct?
Yes.
However, you did not see those cameras on September 1st.
I did not.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Just briefly, Your Honor. I'm going to put back on the overhead what's been admitted as states 350. The area kind of above the light here by the garage, that's where there were no cameras, right, on the 1st?
Correct.
And they were later seen on the 6th?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's all I have, Your Honor.
I got it, of course, indulging. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena. Your state may call their next witness.
State calls Christy Baxter.
Well, she was on the stand for far too short of a period of time for my liking. I thought that was a kind of a decent point for the defense, though, because the state initially kind of made it sound like he was cleaning out the Denali. He washed the Denali, which gave us the idea that obviously he was cleaning the inside, the interior, which apparently wasn't the case. So that,
Please watch your step. And if you remain standing, raise your right hand, face the clerk, please.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
It's Christy Baxter, Christy, CHRISTIE, Baxter, BAXTER.
May I proceed, Your Honor? Ms. Baxter, how are you employed?
I'm employed as a crime scene analyst supervisor with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
How long have you worked as a crime scene analyst?
A little over 7 years,
And how long have you had the designation as a supervisor?
about 2 days.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
But you've worked as a crime scene analyst, I think you said for 7 years?
Yes.
And can you just briefly describe the training that you went through in order to work as a crime scene analyst?
As a crime scene analyst, we undergo about a 3 to 4 month process where we go through the academy, where you learn all the basics to be able to be successful throughout field training. And then you go through a 3 to 4 month process in field training where you're supervised by a senior crime scene analyst. And then at the end, you take a competency test where you have to pass to be able to go on and do actual field work by yourself. And then you continue training throughout your career to make sure you're up to date.
Okay. Now, we've had some testimony before this jury about the crime scene 7216 Bronze Circle. So we won't go into that in too much detail, but did you report as well as one of the crime scene analysts to Jeff Gehrman's residence on September the 3rd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And you worked with Claire Browning and other crime scene analysts and detectives to process that scene?
I did.
What was your responsibility in terms of the scene?
For this scene, my responsibility was impounding all evidence and doing the scans to complete a diagram.
Okay, and we've seen the diagram, but in terms of what you impounded, were they swabs of like possible DNA off like rocks and bushes and that sort of thing?
Yes, we took the rocks as an original surface with apparent blood. We took additional swabs of apparent blood and then DNA swabs of other surfaces as well.
Okay, and all of that was impounded by you?
Yes, ma'am.
When you were at that original scene at Bronze Circle, was Detective Derek Jaffe present?
Not at the scene, no.
No. I want to kind of fast forward a little bit to September the 8th. Were you called upon to assist homicide on that date?
I was.
And that was still with regard to Mr. Gehrman's murder?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you asked to meet homicide on September the 8th?
I was asked to go to the PA's office, which was 515 Shadow Lane.
And by the PA's office, do you mean the public administrator's office?
Yes, ma'am.
When you got there, did you see detectives that you knew?
Yes, we all met up.
Okay, and there would be homicide detectives present?
Yes.
Did you see Detective Jaffe on the 8th?
Yes, I did.
And was he doing something separate than homicide? Were you there at homicide's request or his request?
I was there at homicide's request.
Did he appear to be taking his own pictures and doing his own sort of look through the PA's office?
Yes, he was.
So it was separate from what homicide was doing?
Yes.
Were you primarily working with Detective Gaddis?
Yes, she was primary on the investigation.
Okay. Was one of your responsibilities on the 8th to take photographs of the offices at the public administrator's office?
It was.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Ms. Baxter, I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 204 to 213.
Oh, what are we
Just
going to
ask
see
you to
here?
go through those and let me know when you're done.
Okay. Having looked through those, do you recognize those to be the photographs you took at the PA's office on the 8th of September?
They were.
Okay. State moves to admit 204 to 213, Your Honor.
We have no objection.
And may I publish them? Okay, thank you. I'm going to put on the overhead what's been admitted as states 204. Let me back that up just a little. Do you recognize that photograph?
I do.
And what are we looking at there?
That's the outside of the public administrator and public guardian office.
Okay. And this is states 205. What's that a photograph of?
That's the exterior of the office that was labeled Rob.
Okay. And did you and the detectives eventually went into that office?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm putting on the overhead states 207. Is that in the office?
That is.
And can you kind of orient us just a little bit, like where, from the prior photograph, is this looking to where the front door of the office is?
So I would be standing behind the desk within the office, shooting towards the door.
Okay. And this is states 208. Obviously the desk.
Yes,
So sort of the opposite view of the photograph we just saw.
that's correct.
And I'm putting on the overhead now what's been admitted as states 209. That's the view of the entry into the office.
Yes, from standing at the doorway.
Okay. There appears to be a computer on the desk there. Is that fair?
Yes.
Do you know what happened to that computer?
Homicide detectives collected it.
Okay. And I'm going to just show you one more close picture. This is states 212. Does that appear to be the computer that homicide collected?
Yes, I believe it's like behind or and those are the monitors, so it's connected to the computer they collected.
Okay. And so they would have impounded that.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I will pass the witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Baxter, fair to say that you were called upon to fulfill your duties as a crime scene investigator to collect evidence concerning a murder case, correct?
Yes.
You testified that when you were at the public administrator's office on September 8th of 2022 that you saw Mr. Jappy, correct?
I did.
You had testified that you were called upon by the homicide office to be there, correct? Or the
That's
homicide
correct.
detail?
Homicide detectives, yes.
And your job primarily concerned with taking photos and collecting evidence, correct?
Yes.
Generally, when you work with homicide, that's what you're called to do. You come in, you document the evidence, correct?
That's correct.
Then you had testified that when you arrived, that the Detective Jappy was there, correct?
He was.
And you had testified that he was taking his own photos
He was.
and collecting his own evidence.
I'm not sure if he collected evidence, but I do know he took photographs.
Okay, but you had testified on direct collecting evidence. I mean, he was there doing his own thing, correct?
Yes, he was doing his own thing to take photographs, collect evidence. I'm not exactly sure what he collected, if he did any.
So he was not part of your team at the direction of the homicide unit, correct?
Right.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Are you correct?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
testimony here today. You may step down and you're excused from your subpoena. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And the state may call our next witness.
State's gonna call Matt Havana. Matt, okay.
Your Honor, may I just grab another photo? Thank you.
Please remain standing, raise your right hand, face first.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Matthew, Matthew, Hovanes, Hovanec.
May I proceed, Your Honor? Thank you very much. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm employed by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
And what section are you assigned to?
I'm the commission supervisor, one of the commission supervisors of the Digital Forensics Lab.
What are the responsibilities of the digital forensics lab, sir?
We collect, process, and make reports on all digital data, whether that's phones, videos, computers, tablets, the like.
Okay. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the training and experience you've had leading up to working in this division?
Sure. I've got over 1,000 hours of training relevant to digital forensics from IASIS, which is the International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists. I have my CFC, which is Certified Forensic Computer Examiner. I also have a CMDE, which is Certified Mobile Device Examiner. For some of the vendor-specific training that we use with Celebrite, I have a CCO and CCPA certification, also drone certified through Celebrite. With Magnet, I have a MCFE, Magnet Certified Forensic Examiner, and a CMGE. I also have training in cell phone repair and video training.
Okay. Did you assist Metro and specifically the homicide section led by Justine Gaddis in an investigation regarding the death of Jeffrey Gehrman?
I did.
Were there a series of devices that you were responsible for forensically downloading?
There were.
Did that include a phone that belonged to Robert Tellis?
Yes.
Do you remember what type of phone that was?
I believe it was a Google Pixel 6.
Okay. Did you also assist in forensically downloading a phone belonging to Jeffrey Gehrman?
I do not believe I did that phone.
Okay. Let me ask you about this. Did you assist in forensically downloading a workplace computer belonging to Mr. Tellis?
I did.
Can I project this to foundation as to who it belonged to, so I can project that characterization?
Okay, can you lay a foundation?
Sure. We'll start this way. Did you forensically download a desktop?
I did.
Okay. Did you review any materials or documents to learn where that desktop came from?
I did.
Okay. What sort of materials did you review?
User accounts, where the computer was collected from.
Okay. Did you ever have any time to consult also with Detective Justine Gaddis about materials that were collected by her homicide team?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you the question again. There was a desktop that you forensically downloaded, correct?
Yes.
Who did it belong to?
Robert Tellis.
Okay. And where did it come from?
From the Clark County, I can't remember the exact
Public
title of the
Administrator's
office. Public
Office?
Administrator's Office, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sir, if you could just explain to the jury, what does it mean to forensically download something?
So when we forensically download something, we get the device in the state it is and try to make absolutely no changes to it. We want the device to be in the same state it was when we retrieved that device or when we were given that device. So when we download a phone or download a computer, we're using software and hardware that makes no changes to that device.
Okay. Are you familiar with a program called Celebrite?
I am.
What is Celebrite?
Celebrite is a company that manufactures software and hardware for downloading phones, computers and phones.
Was Celebrite utilized in the forensic download of Robert Tellis's Google Pixel phone?
Yes.
All right. I want to ask you, with respect to Mr. Tellis's workplace desktop computer, what program was used to forensically download that?
For that, it was Magnet Axiom.
Okay. How does that operate? Similar to Celebrite, different?
It's similar to Celebrite. A program's used to create an image, and then Magnet, the Axiom program, is used to process that image and create reports.
Okay, so we're talking about reports. Are they sometimes referred to as an extraction report?
Yes.
Okay, what is an extraction report?
There's different types of reports that can be created by each program. It's something that allows the end user, in this case, detectives going over the case or attorneys, to look at that data that I've processed in a viewable format, tag items, create reports from it.
Okay. When you look at one of these, so for example, if there's certain information in a phone that's identified as potentially relevant or connected some way, you can identify it, and then this report will spit it out in some sort of format. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay. So for example, will the extraction report have information about potentially when, let's just use a photo, for example. Let's say you find a photo, it is marked and it's extract. Will it have information potentially relating to either when it's created or maybe when it's appearing on the phone, something along those lines?
It is possible.
Okay. Will it include potentially locations, like a pathway about where it might be found within a device?
Yes.
Potentially, let's say if the image has, like maybe there's metadata about GPS coordinates, could sometimes that be attached to an image or some sort of device?
It can be.
Okay, it just depends, correct?
Yes.
Have you reviewed a series of extraction reports related to information contained inside Mr. Tellis's phone?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to, let's see, I'm going to show, 1 second. I'm going to start at least by showing opposing counsel what's been marked as 357A, 356, 361, 357, 360, 358, 363. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And 364.
I reviewed these.
Any objections?
No objection.
A stipulation.
And just for the court have a record of those exhibits? Okay. I'm going to come up and show you those exhibits. Got a digital version of them as well, but let's just at least take a look at these real quick and let me know if you're familiar with what you're looking at.
Only guilty man in Shawshank.
Don't make me pull that Casper picture back up. That was spot on. Spot on.
Yes, I'm familiar with these.
Okay. And you've seen digital versions of this as well, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are these extraction reports derived from Mr. Tellis's Google Pixel phone?
Yes.
All right. I'm also at this time going to ask for admission of stage proposed 354, which is essentially a digital equivalent of that same information.
No objection.
Okay. This time we are going to publish 354. Good. Yeah, we could just queue over. I've got to move it over. It's okay. I got it. Here we go. Okay, opening the file, it says Tellis phone. Let's open the file. It says phone evidence campaign photo. So So let's close this up. So this is an example of an extraction report, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And let me just zoom in here for a second. So we have this thing that says path. What is that?
That's the file path that this specific artifact was located at.
All right. And when you look at that, can you tell roughly where in the phone that's coming from?
I can tell what application it was derived from.
Okay, so tell us what application it was derived from.
From Google Photos.
From Google Photos. What is it? What do you see there in that extraction pathway that tells you that?
The google.android.apps.photos.
Okay. We look over to the right, there's in that second big column, it indicates the word modified. What does that mean?
So being that this is a cached file, that's the last time that the phone interacted with that specific file.
Okay. And sometimes that can, for example, in some instances, you may have like a created on date. Would that be correct?
Correct.
So if you could tell, if the phone, the extraction could show, like, we know definitively that that phone created that particular, it might say created or something along those lines. Is that right?
You'd usually have something like created data or more metadata.
Okay. But at the end of the day, what does the word cache mean, by the way? How does that work in relation to phones?
Cache is phones use it, computers use it. It's temporary storage. When say use an application, visit a website, data, files, scripts, media, pictures can be stored in the cache to assist those applications or say a website in loading information faster so that it's not always going back to the source to download it. Tries to make the application run smoother, run faster for the user.
Okay. And so we have here, there's a couple of thumbnails over here. So those are kind of small images of that, correct?
Correct.
And we can see, this thumbnail, the Reelect, Rob, tell us what is the date that it was modified or last modification date on there?
That'd be April 5th of 2022.
Okay, and this first image, when is that modified?
July 24th, 2022.
Okay. Close that out. And then there are associated in this folder, we have a full image. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to generate an extraction report regarding items searched items within Mr. Tellis's phone?
Sorry, could you say that once more?
Was there an extraction report generated for searched items, certain searched items within Mr. Tellis's phone?
Yes.
Okay. What does the searched items category mean in relation to Celebrate?
So in this instance, it was using the Google Chrome app, and it was something that would have been searched on there.
So you would kind of type those words into your phone, and then it would spit out potentially a result or create a record. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So when we look at this one, how many times was this tagged?
There's 25 tags.
Okay. And so when we look at what is the timestamp of the first one?
6:43:54 p.m. on
go ahead.
On June 21st, 2022.
So you tricked me. You went time first, and I was kind of thrown off there. I wanted the date more importantly, but thank you very much. So on 6/21/22, someone typed into the phone, what's this category that says value? Why is that? What does that mean?
That's the value that was typed in.
Okay. And then when we look at source, again, is this kind of like the pathway?
Yes.
And where is it telling you these words, Jeff Gehrman, Las Vegas? Where is that popping up in this particular phone?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Well, is this a pathway here? Is it telling you what application was being used when those words were typed?
Yes, the source is telling you what application was in use.
So what is the application?
That'd be Chrome.
Chrome. What is Chrome?
Chrome is a web browser.
Okay, is that like Safari if you have an Apple?
Yes.
Okay. So just scrolling down, are we seeing the same term being used, same terms being used?
That is correct.
Does it appear that all of these dates are June 21st of 2022?
It does.
looking at entry number 17, what's the value in terms being used now?
In value, it's Jeff Gehrman, Las Vegas, with Rob 4 in V in parentheses.
Okay.
Or sorry, quotations.
Was there an extraction report regarding web history?
Yes.
What is web history in terms of this program?
Web history, this program can look again at the browsers you're using and what exactly you're doing with that browser, what websites you're visiting.
Okay, so you can kind of see, again, someone may type in terms and you can see if they're visiting a particular website. Is that
Yes.
correct? How many tags are there here?
18.
Okay. What was the title? What were the words being typed into Google search?
Jeff Gehrman, Las Vegas.
And what was the date?
6/21/22.
At what time?
6:43:54 p.m.
Does this appear to parallel the first entry under the searched items as well?
It does.
And can that happen? You can type, the program can pick up when you're typing in and consider it a searched item, but if it shows up in your web browser, it might also be captured under web history.
Yes, multiple artifacts can be found in multiple places.
Okay. And these are examples of all the time that those terms were searched. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, another area is photographs. We talked about photographs briefly. Were there a series of extractions brought up regarding images found on a phone?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Detective, are you familiar with the date in which Jeff Gehrman passed away?
I do not recall the specific date.
Okay. If I told you September 2nd of 2022, you wouldn't have a reason to disagree. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Now, I want to take a look at this extraction report. How many tags are there?
3.
Okay. And what is the pathway related to these images?
Again, it's from the google.android.apps.photos.
Okay. And so it's coming from like a photo library?
From Google Photos.
Okay. And a Google Photos in his phone?
It could be in his phone, could be in the cloud.
So that's when we take pictures and then it kind of flows up into the cloud and it's stored up there.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. So what is the modified date on this image here?
8/19/2022 at 1:42:15 p.m.
Okay. How about the second entry? What is the modified date there?
8/19/2022 12:23:30 p.m.
Okay. And the third one?
8/19/2022 1:42:15 p.m.
Okay. And you mentioned that these also capture the actual images themselves. Is that right? When we do these reports?
Yes.
Publishing the first file. What color is that shoe on the right?
It appears to be gray.
Okay. What brand does it appear to be?
Nike?
Sir, when we look at the sole of the shoe, is it purely white or does it appear to have a design somewhere in the middle here?
Appears there's a design.
What sort of design does it look like?
4 black squares.
Okay. And this image was found inside Mr. Tellis's phone.
Yes.
And the modified date on that was August 19th of 2022.
Yes.
Okay, so roughly, do my math correctly, 13 days before Mr. Gehrman's murder, 12 days if my math is off.
Sounds correct.
Okay. And then this image appears 3 different times.
That's correct.
One second. Was an extraction report produced using the term Alfred camera?
Yes.
Publishing that file. How many, what is timeline?
Timeline is just giving you a reference of how many different columns there are, basically, how many you've extracted or tagged.
And in Celebrite, if there's a timeline, does it kind of put events that occur in the phone in chronological order?
It does.
Okay. So there appears to be what? How many things pulled from the timeline?
7.
Okay. And there's a column here that says type, correct?
Yes.
And so it kind of tells you what type of data entry point is inside the phone. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay, so let's read out entry number 1. What is the type?
Installed applications.
So what does that mean?
Be when you downloaded an application from an app store.
Can you please tell me the date that this application was installed?
9/5/2022 at 12:03:53 a.m.
And if you could just help us, there's this parent parentheses that says UTC -7. What does that mean?
UTC is a time code, so right now we're in -7 during daylight savings time.
Okay, so we're talking time zones, is that right?
Yeah, universal coordinated time, and then every time zone goes off of that.
And we're Pacific, correct?
Yes.
And so to get to Pacific, you'd have to subtract 7 hours?
Yes.
And is that what the program is indicating, that this has been converted to Pacific time?
Yes.
All right. If you could, so it says timestamp, it reads that date. Read what it says right here.
Purchase date.
Okay. And then what's the description of what application was purchased?
The Alfred Camera Home Security app.
Okay. So this application was installed by someone 3 days after Mr. Gehrman was killed.
Correct.
All right. Let's go to the next entry. What is entry number 2 about?
Web history.
All right. And give us the date and time.
9/5/2022, 12:10:46 a.m.
So because this is timeline, it's kind of merging different sources of information, correct?
Yes.
Like before we had a report that just looked at web history, but timeline can pull from different spaces, right?
Correct.
So for example.
So clearly what the state's doing here by showing these pictures and giving us a date that he owned those shoes in late August, the purpose of that is to rebut the concept that those shoes were planted by law enforcement or somebody else, right?
Example, if there was an image that might relate to this, it would also migrate into this report. Would that be correct?
That's possible.
All right. So if you could, it's indicate, what's the term that's being used right there?
It's the last visited time.
What does that mean?
When somebody last visited that website.
All right. So at 12:10 a.m., what is the user of this phone visiting?
The Alfred Web Viewer PC is home security monitor using Google Chrome.
Okay. And we find, is there a second entry mirroring all of that same information?
Yes.
Look at entry number 4. How about then?
Same information.
But is the date a little bit different?
The time is different, yes.
Okay. We have other similar entries. Is that correct on the 5th?
That is correct.
Okay. Was there information, an extraction report also, was there also an extraction report derived from images that appeared to come from Google Maps?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's first pull up the extraction report. How many images relating to Google Map images were tagged for this report?
132.
So that signifies that there was 132 images found in his phone related to this particular topic?
That were tagged, yes.
Okay. Let's start scrolling through some of this. For example, with this first one here, can you tell us when you look at the pathway, where are these images coming from?
From the Google Maps app.
So they're coming from the Google Maps app.
Yes.
All right. What's the modification date on this?
Again, that would be the last time that that application interacted with that specific artifact.
Please read out the date for entry number 1.
8/12/2022, 9:55:24 p.m.
Okay. Let's look at this second one. What is there? It's off by a couple of different seconds, correct?
Yes.
But all the information remains the same.
Yes.
Does 8/12/22 appear to be the same date for these items?
It does.
Let's just all the way down to the end, all from 8/12. Is that correct?
Correct.
So let's open up a folder that says 7216 Bronze Circle. You recognize what you're looking at here?
A home?
It's a home. Is it in a certain type of web program?
This would be in Google Street View, yes, so Google Maps.
Okay. And so at this particular home, this is kind of an angle. This would be if someone was in Google Maps and pulled up a street view of 7216 Bronze Circle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it just another angle of
Yes.
that same home?
Yes.
Let's start getting to the actual images. So this is one of the images that was found inside Mr. Tellis's phone. Would this correspond to one of the thumbnails?
Yes.
How about this one?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Pulling up 7212 Bronze Circle. What are we looking at in this image?
Another street view of a house.
Okay. Is this image pulled out of Mr. Tellis's phone?
Yes.
And again, the dates on these were August 12th of 2022.
Yes.
So that's roughly, my math is usually terrible, about 20 days before Mr. Gehrman is killed. If it's September 2nd. Am I doing that math right? I feel like I am.
Sounds close.
Sounds close? Okay. In this photograph, what does that appear to be? Right above the street address on the house?
Appears to be a solar powered security camera.
And that was inside Mr. Tellis's phone.
The image, yes.
Are these images that came out of this extraction?
Yes. 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 Yes.
What are we looking at here? This is another street view
It is.
of this street called Bronze Circle.
It is.
Are these following images that were pulled out of Mr. Tellis's phone?
They are.
And there's a series of folders here that identify different houses on this street. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay. But ultimately, when you put them all together, it totals. How many does it total again? Based on this?
132.
With a date of August 12th of 2022.
Correct.
Was there also images, an extraction report created regarding what appeared to be, I apologize, I need to move this over, what appeared to be almost like surveillance?
There was.
Publishing that report. How many tags are related here?
101.
If you could, please tell me the pathway where these images come from.
The google.android.apps.photos cache.
So it's coming from, again, the photo application inside Mr. Tellis's phone?
That or a Google Photo Cloud, one of.
Okay, or it was up in the cloud associated, but that phone, that particular phone belonging to Mr. Tellis is associated with that cloud, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What's the modification date on this?
8/15/2022, 10:24:07 a.m.
So 3 days after the 132 images found of Bronze Circle.
That's correct.
And this is a rough look of what all of these images look like, correct?
Correct.
What appears to be captured in these photographs?
Vehicles driving down a street.
And they all appear to be from 8/15 of 2022, correct?
They do.
So a total of 101, is that right?
That's correct.
Now, we don't have all 101, but I want to ask you, do these appear to be some of the images that appear inside this phone related to this extraction report?
They do.
Was there also an extraction report created relating to images that appeared to have information related to Jeffrey Gehrman?
There was.
How many tags were there?
7.
Why don't you tell us again about the pathway? Where did these images come from?
From the Google Photos app.
So the same application that had kind of like this, the pictures of the cars driving by, same place.
Yes.
In the same place where all the Bronze Circle pictures are taken, correct?
Yes.
Okay, those came from the 12th and the 15th. Tell us about this date. When do these images, when are these at least show up as being modified?
8/23/2022.
Okay, so just a couple of days later, correct?
Correct.
And every one of these 7 images is from that date, correct?
Correct.
If you could, please read me the name that is under registrants.
Jeffrey M. Gehrman.
Okay. I'd like to go 2 notches down. Please read the registrant and the address.
Jeffrey M. Gehrman, 7216 Bronze Circle, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89128, I believe.
Okay. Can you tell me what is this? Read the top line up here. What does that say?
2021 Honda Civic Sport.
It provides a VIN number as well. Is that right?
It does.
Okay. It provides the body style. Is that right?
It does.
And when we look at this, can you look at the bottom and read the words of what that says right there?
Dell.
Okay. You're familiar with computers, correct?
Correct.
Does that appear to be a monitor?
It does.
A monitor that might be sitting on a desk, potentially?
Potentially.
Okay. This came out of Mr. Tellis's phone.
Yes,
And the date of the modification on this is August 23rd. Is that right?
that's correct.
And that would be roughly 8 or 9 days. I just can't remember if August, is August 31 days? I feel like August is 31 days. And if that's the case, then that would be 9 days before Mr. Gehrman was killed.
Correct.
Okay. So this image comes out of Mr. Tellis's phone. 31 days. I love that math. It's good. Okay. Did this image come out of Mr. Tellis's phone?
It did.
Please, what are the names that we keep seeing appearing in here?
Jeffrey M. Gehrman.
Okay, and it's listing what? What's it kind of showing? Different what?
Different cars.
Okay. Again, do we see the Dell thing again?
Yes.
Okay. Next image, is this another angle of it? Another angle of like another image?
Yes.
Okay, it appears to come from a monitor, from a computer.
Yes.
Is it more information about Gehrman and Hondas?
It is.
I guess there's another one down here, 2003 what?
2003 Volkswagen Passat GL.
Right. What are we looking at here? This is another image that came from the phone.
It is.
And again, it has similar information that we saw from one of the other images.
Correct.
Again, this comes out of Mr. Tellis's phone.
It does.
And let's look at this one. What's this say up here?
Jeffrey M. Gehrman.
Okay, does it provide a date of birth for Mr. Gehrman?
It does.
What is the date of birth of Mr. Gehrman?
8/23/1953, 69 years old.
All right. Does it also provide a bronze circle address as well for Mr. Gehrman?
It does.
So the date on that is 8/23. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you also did a download of Mr. Tellis's work computer, correct?
Correct.
A computer that was found in his office. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you produce a series of reports similar to an extraction report in relation to that?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to open up the first file here that's entitled Chrome Autofill 07216 Bronze. Is this kind of the cover page for your report, sir?
For a PDF report, yes.
Okay. So this indicates Chrome Autofill Record 1. Is that right?
That's correct.
Tell me what's the significance of the category name?
When something's typed in, such as an address into Google, it might think you want to store that as an autofill to make it easier to populate when you're typing something in the future.
What's the date on that?
That is 8/23/2022. It's 6:05:40 p.m.
Okay. So that's the same date that we had those that we looked at before, right?
Yes.
So the ones that had like the car registration information that appear to be on a monitor, computer monitor, we've got the same, at least the same date as those images, correct?
That's correct.
Can you please read to me what value was entered in at that point?
7216 bronze.
That's the same street associated with Mr. Gehrman on those images from 8/23, is that right?
That's correct.
Is that the same street name as all of those Google mapped images that we saw?
Correct.
Let's open the file. It says Chrome logins, R.E. Tellis. Now, read to me username. What's it say?
The username is rtellis at Clark County.
Okay, what's the created date and time on that?
8/23/2022 at 6:04:56 p.m.
All right. And what is IDI core? Do you know what that is?
I do not know
Okay.
what IDI core is.
But essentially, just to be clear, the last thing that we looked at also tied into IDI core, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so all this comes from the IDI core program, right?
Correct.
And whoever punched in their username put in rtellis at Clark County,
Yes.
okay, on 8/23/2022.
Yes.
This dude
I'm
shaking
opening
his
a file
head.
that says Chrome Web History Expanded Person Search.
How did they plant all this
Can
shit
you
on my
tell me
phone?
what's the date and time on this one?
Unbelievable.
8/23/2022, 6:05:41 p.m.
And read to me the URL or the website that was being visited.
It's www.idicore.com/search/expanded person search.
And there's a visit count. How many times is that visited?
7.
And again, this is all from the same date as we saw those other images that appear to come from a desktop monitor.
Correct.
Court's indulgent. I have no further questions for this witness.
I mean, can't I look a guy up? Like, I look a guy up now, I'm a murderer? Really? Just wanted to see what kind of car he had. Want to see, like, what's he pushing? Wow, this guy. Oh,
In
this
reference
is
to the
unbelievable.
report that you generated, which is State's Exhibit 354, we'll start with the questions concerning the extractions in reference to the cell phone. Do you call that line of questioning? There are a number of times that you were asked by the state the cell phone, and you pretty much every time responded the iCloud, correct? These images that you can testify to were derived or extracted from the iCloud.
No, iCloud would be for an Apple phone. This was a Google phone.
Okay,
So
so
just
it would be
the
a cloud, the
yes.
cloud, Google Cloud. I mean,
Yes.
are you aware of how many devices, communication devices, had access to this cloud?
I'm not.
So it could be 1, it could be 20. You're not able to give an opinion or testimony in reference to the number of cell phones, correct?
With access to that cloud account, no.
You have had experience in your employee dealing with clouds that are hacked?
Personally, no.
Personally, but but you're aware of investigations wherein a person's cloud is hacked.
Yes,
In fact, we hear about it, don't we? Oftentimes, oh, my cloud was hacked.
we do.
You were not called upon
My cloud
to
was hacked.
conduct an investigation
Sounds like
concerning
shit
the
I'd
hacking of this cloud, correct?
No.
You were asked questions concerning an application in reference to security cameras. Do you remember that line of questioning?
Correct.
And it appeared that there was an app downloaded, whether to the phone. Can you testify concerning that? Was that downloaded to the phone or to the cloud?
It was downloaded to the phone.
So we're able to pinpoint the security application being downloaded to that phone, correct?
Correct.
The Pixel phone.
Correct.
And you were asked a date, and that date was on September 5th, 2022, correct?
That sounds correct.
And this app that was downloaded was concerning security cameras.
That's what it sounds like.
Fairly common. One can download a security camera app in order to monitor their security cameras.
It is.
You'll agree with me that generally people download or purchase a security camera and download an application concerning that security camera if there's a concern in reference to their security.
Yes.
You were asked questions in relation to the date that Mr. Gehrman passed, and you were told, hey, if it's September 2nd, 2022, would you have any reason to disagree with me? Call that question.
Yes.
Obviously, this case concerns the passing, the killing of Mr. Gehrman, correct?
Correct.
Fair to say that a person downloads a security app in reference to a security system in order to protect themselves and their property.
Correct.
Real quick. So Meg had asked, would I have tried to get a plea deal for Casper, the alleged framed ghost? How do you work with nothing? Remember, it's not our choice. The lawyers don't get to choose whether or not we're going to go to trial. That is 100% within the purview of the defendant. All we can do is advise them, and this guy, I was saying, I mean, they probably haven't made him an offer. I mean, a lot of times what'll happen is if I've got a case where the state has very strong evidence, I'll ask my client, I'm like, do you want me to see if they'll make an offer on it? Do you want me to try to talk to them about a plea deal? And then the client will say, well, and that's typically after we go through the evidence. And I'm like, this is not good for you. This is a lot of evidence, and at that point, the client will say, well, yeah, I'll hear an offer. So then I go, sometimes the state's not willing to make an offer. Sometimes when they feel like in a case where they have incredibly powerful evidence, they're not willing to move in terms of years at all. They're not willing to budge one iota, in which case, you get a situation where a defendant essentially has nothing left to lose by going to trial, so they'll sit there and they'll say, well, I mean, they're offering me the max. Let's take it to trial. This is my theory. We'll go for it. And this lawyer, you can't, sometimes you can't make lemonade out of lemons. Sometimes you're just stuck sucking sour lemons. And this guy's got a lot of really, really bad facts that he's trying to overcome, all with this, this theory that this is a frame up. They're going to have to put something on in defense of this case in order to sell that, because they haven't even come close to selling this at all. Not in my opinion. And I saw a couple of interesting posts on Twitter where somebody who was pretty active on my Twitter account was putting some theories out there, like, oh, they didn't, there's gaping holes in this evidence, and with the DNA, and now it's like, oh man, I don't know. Like I said, I'm always willing to listen. And I keep my mind open, but yeah, I don't know about this one. Seems pretty guilty to me.
Objection, calls for speculation.
Obviously, the point being that if a person's concerned about their security, someone that they may know has been killed, it would be reasonable to assume they would get a security camera and download an app in order to access that security camera from their phone.
Could be.
In reference to
the
Dell, the desktop, the last part of your questioning is concerning various downloads in reference to Mr. Gehrman from the office laptop. Remember that line of questioning?
The office computer, yes.
Correct. Based upon your testimony, those images were downloaded after 6 p.m., correct?
Those images were still in UTC time. The one on the screen shows right now, they haven't been converted for Pacific Standard Time yet.
After 5 o'clock?
No, that website, if you do the time conversion, would be 11:05:41 a.m. on the 23rd.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Redirect?
Yes. Detective, there were some questions about hacking.
Did you see, when you reviewed the phone, did you find any evidence that this phone download was corrupted in any way?
No.
Did anybody from Metro Homicide provide you any information to suggest that this phone had been hacked into?
No.
There was questions about it's reasonable to assume. I think the question related something along the lines of, if someone had been murdered, it might be reasonable to assume someone might download a security camera to potentially protect themselves. Do you remember being asked something like that?
I do.
Under that same line, possibly if someone actually had committed the killing, Would it be reasonable to assume you might want to put security cameras up to see if
Not
people?
object, this is speculation. Thank you.
Okay. The time that we can see up on the screen, 6:05, on 8/23/2022, when you convert that to UTC time, what does that actually come out to?
Again, it's 8/23/2022 at 11:05:41 a.m.
Showing opposing counsel, which is marked as no objection. No objection.
Permission to publish 351.
Okay, it's admitted by stipulation at this
Correct,
time,
yes.
and you may publish.
Could we just cue over for 1 second? So, August 22nd fell on a what?
August 22nd fell on a Monday.
And you said the time was what time when you converted to UTC time?
I believe it was 11. Well, what I converted to Pacific Standard Time was 11:05 and was it 41 seconds?
So at 11:05 on a Monday, someone went into Mr. Tellis's work computer and started looking up things like 7216 Bronze Circle.
Correct.
I have no further questions for this witness.
No recess.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down when you are excused from your subpoena. Do you have the next witness, lady?
May we approach?
Sure.
So what are they doing? I was reading the chat. Are they taking a sidebar? Sidebar. Uh-oh. You know what we got to do. All right, close your ears. Coming in with a soundbite. I don't want to blast eardrums. I turned it down, so I think that was a reasonable volume.
Okay, at this time, we're going to recess for lunch. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. Do any research, consult dictionaries, the internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or former express any opinion regarding the case till it's finally submitted to you, and we'll be in recess till 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right, so that's 2:30, 3:30. 2:30 my time, 3:30 Eastern. All right, hold on. I'm making the new stream real quick. Like, yeah, I don't know. State has a pretty powerful case here. Like, I'm just not. I already forgot. What did I say? 2:30? 2:30 my time, right? So, oh no, wait. What time she said they're coming back? It's already. What time she said they're coming back? Hold on, I gotta re-listen to this. Go back. Let's see. Hold on. What? Somebody give it to me. What did they say, Dizzy? I already forgot. My memory's so bad. I forgot. 1:30 their time. Oh my God. 3:30 our time. All right. Wow. All right. So that's an hour and 15 minutes. Okay. All right. So I'll start at 10 minutes early. 3:20 my time. All right. Okay. Okay. Now I'm gonna try to get you all portaled. Let me see if I can do that again. I did it. I was so proud of myself last week. It's amazing. Okay, let's see if that's over. Okay, here we go. Let's go in here. Go into here. Over here. I hope this is it. Let's afternoon such beautiful. All right, cool. I think I got it set up, y'all. So you guys should portal right over. So we get a nice little like a nice little break. About an hour 15. I'll come back. I think about 10 minutes early. So if you guys want to chill in the chat, when I end the stream, you guys know you could do that. It'll portal you over to the new one. So I think I'm getting pretty good at that. So super exciting. My tech is it's got an upward arc. It's like it's moving upwards. I can feel it. It's the arrow is pointing up in terms of my ability to be able to use technology, which is good. It's good. All right, you guys. Love you. Thank you so much for hanging for the first session. Hope to see you back for the second session. If you'd be kind enough to just, hit that like button on the way out, just mash it a little bit, share, subscribe, all the good stuff that helps us get onto the algo with the YouTubes. Mods, thank you so much as always for hanging. And hopefully we will see you guys in 2 and 2. Ciao.